I want to welcome you to PMIN 4103, Pastor's Role in Church Administration. So let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I am your instructor for this course. And again, the course is Pastor's Role in Church Administration. I am a pastor. I am one of two lead pastors, for Abundant Life Worship Center in Chicago, Illinois. I am the lead pastor over vision and education. I'm also an author, a publisher. I recently started the publishing company, Tribe Production Publishing Incorporated. And I'm also an author coach. One of my first and greatest ministries is wife to James Williams. We've been married for over 35 years and the mother to three lovely daughters. So as you can see, I have many roles. So I am sure that many of you have many as well. So as I stated in my introductory video, this course is more than how to hire or fire or about pushing paper and paperwork. I believe one of the key tools you and I have is how we apply self-management, personal management, or self-leadership. And so this is just a picture of me. I just thought it was a nice picture and I just wanted to share it with you. This is, the second slide is, I'm asking the question, how do you lead? And I like this quote. And it says, yet in teaching people to lead like Jesus, we have found that effective leadership starts on the inside. It is a heart issue. I think what's important for us to know is the way that we ensure that we're effective in the ministry is to make sure we're allowing God to heal us from the inside out. And this is what I did my doctoral work on. My dissertation was the whole leader, leading from the inside out. And I define the whole servant leader as someone who allows themselves to be healed, delivered, set free, to have that opportunity to let God develop his attributes on the inside of us. And so one of the things that we're going to do as we go through this course, even though it sounds like a course just about the how-to of management, it really is, it's a dual course, I believe. It's allowing you the opportunity to just reflect on how you are allowing God to manage you, and then how you are using that management of the master on your life to then manage what he has called for you to do. So what can you expect in this course? Well, one of the things that you can expect is that you're going to be doing discussions. And in those discussions, you are going to give, and there are 2 discussions per week. So you'll be looking for that. And there's a due date on all of those. So I don't have it in this particular presentation, but you can find that information inside of the course itself. But each week you are going to be required to answer whatever the question is with your initial post, which needs to be 150 words. You want to make sure that you are interacting with whatever reading material that you have, whether you're using the course book or any other resources, but you want to make sure you're interacting with your resources, and you also want to put some biblical resources in there as well. So you want to cite the Bible as you are answering your questions. And then you want to make sure you respond to at least 3 people, me included. So that's 3 people total, me and 2 other of your classmates. And in those responses, make sure that they are at least 50 words. And yes, I do count the numbers. Make sure they're at least 50 words. Now, I love the responses. I love, that you tell people you agree and that you like that, and a hearty amen. Those are great, but those are not sufficient responses. You want to make sure if you agree or if you're given hearty amen, that your other 50 words need to tell me why, and tell the other classmates, why do you agree? What makes you want to give it a hearty amen? So you just don't want to say, I agree. That is not a discussion response make. And then your assignments. I want to suggest that you make sure you read the rubrics for clarity. Each of the assignments has a rubrics inside of the course, and look through that, because that will help you know what I am actually looking for, what the course is requiring you, and what the school has actually. So this is not that I've made this up. This is the school standards, and they want to keep us with a consistency for each of the courses, so that I'm not grading one student one way and another student another way. So I'm going to stick extensively to the rubrics to make sure that you are following those requirements. So you want to make sure you're looking at that. And if you have any questions or if you're not clear about an assignment, please feel free to reach out to me. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about the assignment details. Yeah, if you notice, I've got this paper that's all marked up and written. Well, you know, that's what will happen. I'm going to read your paper for its content and make sure that you're getting that. But I'm also going to be looking for other things within your assignment. Certain things that I'm going to make sure you stick to is the requirements for the APA. There's no contractions in APA, so don't write don't or can't or I'm. It's I am or I cannot or I do not. And I know sometimes that gets odd writing that way because it's not how we normally talk. But remember, we're writing in an academic setting, and so that's a requirement. Now, you can use a contraction if it's part of a cited piece of work. You can leave that as such. But if it's your own words, make sure that you do not put in contractions. Also, you want to make sure that you cite that you're using cited work, that you cite your work. That means even if you're using a paraphrase, please make sure you show and cite the sources that you have used, because otherwise when we take it and go through turn it in, it's going to look like you're plagiarizing, and we don't want that to happen. So make sure that you're citing your work. Also, you want to be careful with long citations, and I see this is one of the most reoccurring errors that I see from students is that they don't cite long citations correctly. If it's 40 words or longer, you want to make sure that you are citing that information the way that's required. And I have an example in one of the upcoming slides, but you want to make sure that you're doing that in the proper way. So let me show you some example of what cited work looks like. First of all, if you'll notice in these two citations here, I have at the beginning, there's the date. So you can do it this way. If you have the author and then the date, you then don't have to put the date at the end. If you also notice at the end, where is my punctuation? It is after the page number. Do not put your end punctuation inside of the quotation itself. It goes at the end behind the cited page number. If you look at the second one where it started, researchers have indicated, in this one, the author's name, the year, and the page are all in that area. So you can cite either way it's done correct, but also remember, if you'll notice, the end punctuation always comes at the end of the citation. Now, there's an error in here, and I don't know if you noticed it, and I did it on purpose. But the error here is I forgot to put in the quotation marks. So this would have the quotation marks before researcher and after the inclusive. So you just want to be careful, because these are some of the errors that I also find that sometimes students forget. They'll give me the page number and all of that, but they forget to give me where they got it. Or if, for example, maybe the second one is your paraphrase. So if this is your paraphrase, then you wouldn't need the quotation marks, but you do want to be careful of that in terms of how you present your information. This is what a long citation looks like. So if you see here, I wrote Dr. Williams in 2018 stated, I put the year there. Long citations require you to start the citation on the next line. So you would return to the next line, and then you would indent the entire cited information. You don't put any quotation marks around the work, especially if it's 40 words or longer. Instead, you would use this style. So the entire section is indented, and it is written directly as you cited from your source. Once you have completed the 40-word or longer citation, you would use your end punctuation when? After you give the page number of the cited information. So you see here I put page 235, and then I gave the end punctuation. And if you also notice, there are no quotation marks. You do not use the quotation marks when you have a long cited information. Now we want to talk about headings. Let me talk to you a little bit about headings. And this is just, a brief little overview to help you and remind you about what to look for. These are some of the things that I see the most errors with, and so that's why I'm presenting this. You also will have this information inside of week 1 in the week introduction, there is some APA information there. Also, you will find the information about late work, and you can use that to continue to help you to, if you don't have that, download it and just continue to use it. So let's look at a first level heading. When you use a first level heading, this would be the headings of your particular, first section of your paper, for example. And so your first level headings are centered and they are bold. And if you notice in this heading, the first letter of each of the words is capitalized. And you would do that with all words that are 4 letters or longer. And that's how a first level heading would look. Now, not to confuse you, but sometimes you will see, like, people will give the paper itself a name. So if you had the name of the paper, let's say the name of your paper was The 5 Voices, that would go above the first level heading. It would be centered, it would be capitalized, but it would not be bold. That one wouldn't be bold. But the next one, maybe you were saying Voice 1. That would be your first level heading. It would be centered and it would be capitalized with the first letter, that the way I showed you here. Hopefully I did not confuse you. Then your second level heading, which is anything that's related to the first heading. So for example, I said this was maybe your first voice or Voice 1, and you would say this is some of the subheadings under Voice 1. So that heading would be flush left. It would be all the way to your left, and it would be bold, and it would also be capitalized. The first letter of each word would be capitalized up to including 4 letters. So if the word the was in there, except for the first, so if it was second level, the heading or something, the wouldn't be capitalized if it was anywhere in the heading other than at the beginning. And then your third level headings. These are also headings that were related to the second level. So you're going into more detail under that. So that would be, the third level heading is indented. It's still bold, but if you notice, what's the difference in this one? If you notice, the only letter that is capitalized is the beginning word. All of the other words are not capitalized. And then the text immediately follows this heading. So it flows right into that particular chapter or that particular paragraph, excuse me. And so this is what your headings, remember, first level headings are centered, and then the first letter is capitalized of all words that are at least 4 words or longer. Second level headings are flush left. They're also capitalized. Third level are indented, and only the first letter is capitalized. And if you forget that, you can always go back and look into your APA manual. That has all of that information, starting with, I think it's page like 51, 52, around in that area. It talks about headings and and that. So it even tells you about the long citation. So I would suggest you make sure you use your APA pocket manual. Then on your reference page, I also want to just give you this reminder. All the sources you use, even if you paraphrase, you must place those on your reference page. One of the things that I learned, and one of our instructors told me many years ago, was do not put a reference on your reference page or a resource on your reference page if you have not cited it. So don't put information on your reference page if you have not actually cited it in somewhere in your paper. So your reference page is all of the sources that you have cited in your paper, even if you paraphrased those items. Now let's talk for a few minutes about late work. And again, the late policy is in the news feed under introductory week. So let me just tell you, for the first, late work is if you contact me before the work is due. So for example, many of our papers are due on Monday. Don't contact me Monday and say, oh, my work is going to be late. You need to contact me Friday or Saturday, at least 2 days in advance. That's what I'm asking for, at least 2 days in advance. Contact me if there's some reason why you will not be able to meet the deadline to get your work in. And these conditions apply if you're sick, if there's some emergency, some situation that you have no control over. And so I want to make sure that we hear that. Contact me either via email or phone me, but please let me know in advance that you will not be able to get the work in. And then once I talk to you or okay that, then I will give you the new date that work is due. This does not change the next assignments. This next assignments will still be due when they're due. So you may find yourself having to double up to get your work in on time. But for example, if you don't call, if you don't contact me, if you don't let me know ahead of time, if you are a week late, so if we going into week 2 and you have not, and you're just turning in week 1, your points can be reduced from 0 to 10%. And let me tell you why I said 0 to 10%, because that is all up to my discretion. Even if I'm talking to you individually, one-on-one, that determines on whether that work will get deducted points or not. But from 0 to 10% is what will happen. Then if it's 2 weeks late, it's 0 to 20%. Again, that 0 just lets you know that if you're in contact with me, even if it's late, so I'm not saying, well, it's late, so don't call me. If it's late, you can call and apologize for not letting me know. But then if something, and then let's just discuss it so that we can try, because I'm willing to work with you. So I don't want you to think that this is so ironclad that there's no flexibility, there's no mercy, there's no grace. In fact, I learn quite often that God gives me grace and mercy, not because I deserve it, because I don't. And so I'm willing to work with a student. I'm willing to work with you. And so there's some responsibility that you hold, but I'm still willing to work with you. So that's why it gives us the flexibility on how much we can reduce your grade. And the same, week 3, it's up to 30%. Week 4 is totally different. It's either a grade of 0 or I can reduce your work up to 40%. Again, let's walk and talk. I would hope that we're not getting to the place where your work is 4 weeks behind. That's really something. If you're getting that late behind, then there's some other things going on, and we want to discuss that. Week 5, that's after the course end. There is no accepted work after that time because the course has ended. So you do want to be mindful of the dates and times to make sure that you are getting your work in and you're not missing deadlines. The calendar is in the class and in the news feed, so you can see when all of that is due. I make sure that that is there, and I constantly update you in the feed. So I do ask 2 things. Please read the news feed, because this is where I contact you and talk to you consistently. Also, please read your assignments, because, not your assignments, but my comments on your paper, because I realize, I don't know why, but a lot of students, they'll just get their grades and they do not read their papers. But if you read your papers, I guarantee if you read your papers and follow what comments I have, that will increase your grades, because you'll catch those errors, because I've taken the time to bring them to your attention. And so late policy for discussions, because there also is a late policy for discussions. With late discussions, you just want to be mindful that your discussions must be placed within the week. So you can't go back week 2 and put in discussions. And this is the reason why. It's a discussion. It's a conversation, if you will, that's in real time to some degree. We're talking over a week's time, but it's a conversation in that week. And so for you to come in week 2 and to post into week 1, we've already moved from that conversation. So there's no late, after the week is closed, there's no late submissions that will be graded. There is also a 10% reduction if you do not place your initial discussion at the time that is required. So you would look at the syllabus, look at the assignments to know what date that is, but make sure you're putting that initial post at the date is required. And the reason for that is, again, we're trying to have a discussion. And if 1 or 2 students are putting in their post, but the other students are waiting until the end of the week to post, it doesn't leave much room, or doesn't leave much area for others to be able to have conversations or to make discussions if everyone has not submitted their work. So it's a matter of fairness to everyone, to be able to have your work in, and then you're all able to have those discussions over the week time. And I just find when everybody posts on time, we have a more lively conversation, and it doesn't get into a tight knit where it's only 2 or 3 students talking amongst themselves. So please be mindful of that and get those in on time. So let me tell you what you can expect from me. First of all, you can expect timely grading. Normally our assignments are due Monday by midnight. So basically I am getting those papers by Tuesday. That's when, when you submit the work, that's the last day to submit it. But what I normally do, when you submit your paper, I check the class quite frequently as I see assignments posted. I tend to try to get your work back to you within 1 or 2 days. Sometimes it's in the same day. I won't guarantee that, but at least 1 or 2 days. I try to make sure I get it back. And this is the reason why I do it. I try to get your grading back to you so you have time to look at my comments to help you prepare for your next paper. It's nothing more frustrating for me than to have written 3 or 4 papers and then get a paper from an instructor to find out that I've been doing something wrong, and so now it's wrong in every paper I've written. So I try to give you your those responses as quickly as possible. But now I expect you to go read them so that you make sure that you're following those responses. And I'm going to make sure that I'm going to give comprehensive grading and responses. So I'm going to really try to make sure when I grade your paper and I tell you what needs to be fixed, sometimes I will fix things so that you'll see what it's supposed to look like. But if it keeps happening over and over again, I'm not going to keep fixing it. I'll just let you know, see above, or I'll tell you that go back to another paper if I've been correcting the same mistakes. And so the biggest mistakes is people forgetting to do the running head correctly. So please remember that the running head, you must have the title running head with your title of your paper on the first page, but the second page does not have the phrase running head, but it has the title of your paper. So that also is one of the information sheets that's available in the newsfeed. And then I'm going to be active in the discussions. I do read what you write. I respond to questions that are asked. I try to just like you need to post over certain days. I come in. I don't like to jump in and answer immediately. I like to give the students an opportunity to respond, but I do come in and begin to respond to students and to the discussion. So I'm active in the discussion boards. Then you can expect that I am praying for you. I'm praying for you from the moment you enter this course until the time that you're gone, and often even afterwards. I will ask the Lord, the students that have come through me, that He have allowed me the honor of instructing and facilitating, allow them to be blessed and to finish well the journeys that they have. I also want you to know that I have no problem, and I find it a great honor if there's some situations that have nothing to do with this course and you need prayer. Please feel free to call me and I will pray with you, and it is my honor to do so. And I'm accessible to you as a student, and I am again honored to be able to do that, because I take what I do as your instructor. It's more than me teaching a class, and it's more than me than a job. I really believe this is a calling and a mission of God to instruct and help His children accomplish the work that He has for their lives. So feel free to reach out to me. And if you don't catch me via phone, send me an email, and I am very quick about getting back to you as quickly as I can. And then now I just want to, since I talked about prayer, let me just give a dangerous prayer for you today, because and I love this picture. It says dangerous prayers, because that's really what our prayer life is. It's dangerous. It's dangerous to the enemy of our soul. It's dangerous to darkness, because it's the fire of God that intercedes and burns off those things that stand in our way. And so I'm excited to begin this journey with you in this course. And I pray that you would finish well, not only here, but your entire journey through Mid-America. Let me pray for you. God, I thank you for each of the students that are entering this class, PMI 4103, the pastor's role in church administration. Father, I pray that you would help each of your students, each of your children to not only see what they need to do in terms of this course, but Lord, speak to them through this time and help them to glean some information. What is it that you want them to know about themselves? What do you want them to know about you? And then help them to be able to get in every assignment. I pray for their families. I ask you to bless their coming and going. I pray that you would give them the strength, and because I know sometimes with all of the different work and then ministry and all the other things that are in our hands to do, it can get overwhelming. But I pray that you would help them to find rest and peace, not to be stressed. I pray and thank you in advance for how they're going to do well in this journey. And so, Father, we say thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. God bless you, and I'll see you in class.